is AI safety has really become about, existential risks or this fear that these AI models will become super intelligent and, then become a risk to society at large. But the difference is here, the risks that these AI companies talk about when they talk about AI safety are really hypothetical. They're not concerned with the everyday risk that AI models can pose to human lives. That's very different from safety engineering, which is my discipline, which thinks about the human lives that are affected from sort of like the failures that could occur from our infrastructure. And so I often view AI safety as sort of safety revisionism, or that term has been co opted because we moved very far away from trying to make sure that our systems are accurate and reliable towards this idea that we're going to build some super intelligent being that's going to solve all of our world problems. And I think it's very important that we always focus on the science and how these systems actually fail rather than hypothetical sci-fi situations that actually don't help us make these systems reliable at all.
There is this kind of life-threatening scenario that people are getting familiar with, which is how is AI being used in warfare? How do you see AI contributing to the way that militaries are carrying out their actions?
When you're using things like generative AI or large language models for writing an email, these models getting something wrong is very low risk, right? No one dies, nothing changes. But then when you move to trying to implement them in safety critical systems, like in defense, you're literally, determining the lives of people, right? This is very much high stakes. And, when you're looking at the accuracy of these systems, they shouldn't be near any sort of targeting at all. So, for example, Maven, which is currently being used by the US in Iran, has low accuracy rates. 2 years ago, an investigation came out that showed their accuracy rate are as low as 30% in some situations. And overall, when you're looking at the averages of these models, their accuracy rate is as low as 50%. And, that's really not far from flipping a coin, is it, right? The sort of 50-50 random chance. And I think that should make us question, why are these systems even near targeting at all if they're this inaccurate? And, again, there could be other uses of AI where, there are life or death consequences. But in the case of military, that very much is what's at stake.
So help us kind of explain the difference in how the military uses it. I mean, right now we think of the phrase of autonomous sort of killing machines, and we're ascribing this power to AI, and we're having this kind of debate about whether or not companies should be doing that. But there's another layer of just like intelligence and intelligence gathering. So how's AI involved in that?
So first, I want to preface with the fact that AI has been used in the military since the 1960s, but it's a very different type of AI than what we're seeing today. Back then, up until a few years ago, they were using what we call sort of purpose-built military AI models, where they were very task specific and they were trained on specific tasks with specific data for, some mission. And that's very different from what we're seeing today in the use of generative AI or things like large language models, where they're being implemented in what we call decision support systems, which are essentially tools that bring together a lot of data, like satellite images, social media feeds, intercepted communications, and that model then uses all this information to make military recommendations, including targeting recommendations. And I think a lot of people are probably confused about this type of term because we're also hearing a lot about autonomous weapon systems. And the difference between decision support systems and autonomous weapon systems is that autonomous weapon systems are allowed to select and engage with targets without oversight from a human being, versus decision support systems that do have the so-called oversight, right? And it's questionable how much oversight there really is, that tend to provide a game-like or a chatbot interface that a military operator then uses to approve AI target recommendations. But overall, AI is being used in every part of what we call the kill chain. So things like intelligence, surveillance, and now we're looking at the selection and then the strike of the targets as well.